I'm so sorry.
Hello, Yanni.
I'm on because I'm on a lot of psychiatric meds. They make every 20 days. I have to speak to my doctor. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I mean, what happened is I paused it, but she could hear you still. So
Oh,
I
she
was
could.
like, I'm gonna have to go right out of the studio. It was a bit of a mess. Sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
they watch me closely because the meds that I'm on can knock out an elephant because I have really bad night terrors. Um, my poor husband, I scream and yell and in the middle of the night, and I don't remember it because of the meds, but he's fully aware of it, so it's pretty hard. Um, anyway, so yeah, I forget what I was up to, but I'm pretty sure it was the satanic rituals and stuff. So those
Yeah.
were probably the hardest parts of it all for me. Watching babies getting hurt or murdered basically. Um, After about the fifth one, I remember I became quite numb to it. I know that sounds like I was being heartless, but you got to remember I'm a child and there's nothing I can do to stop what they're doing. I've got no power over them. They're in control of everything, and there's nothing I can do. I'm a small child, and there was a lot of us would talk because we weren't allowed to talk, but we would sneak and talk. And um, I think we just became desensitized and knowing and accepting that we were probably going to die here. You know, um, I saw children not make it. Um, they were here with me and then I wouldn't see them again. So I presume they didn't make it. Um, like I said, the children had no identities most of the time, so no one was looking for them. So they had the breeders that they would put up in their houses to have the babies that kind of had nowhere else to go. And they would wait till they had their babies, pay them, and they'd be out the door basically. And they had it set up so that it was really organized, put it that way. Everything was so the houses that they kept us in. So if the police were ever called to the house, okay, this is what people need to remember. So the front of the house would be like this really good family home. So it would be spotlessly clean. I got to see that. I often was slaved to clean and scrub and do that. The houses that we were in were in the front, they were very sterile. So they looked like this great clean family home. So that's the if the police ever came to the house, the first thing the police would see is this house being all spotlessly clean, and the police would presume it's a good family home. And it worked. A lot of the time when things would go wrong and police would go there, they wouldn't see anything. They wouldn't notice that anything looks out of place because it didn't. Everything was clean in the front part of those houses. In the back part of the houses were where they kept the children, and or down in the basement part, they weren't sterile. But up in front and through the whole house, kitchen, they had a normal family home setup. Okay, so nothing looked out of place, nothing looked suspicious if the police ever came there. That's why they got away with it for so long. So yeah, so the breeders were the ones, I think they would feed them drugs and everything. Like they don't care if the babies are born drug addicted or any of that. They don't care. They don't care. They're heartless people. They don't care. Um, I did get to see some of the breeders, and when I think of them, I think of Summerwell's mum. That's the type of people that I did see. Um, I was there until I was 13, and I was because I was adopted, so she had to have me around a little bit here and there. And that was when I started to plan on running away. I mean, from the ages of 2.5 onwards, I saw abuse 3 times a week. And like I said, there were three different types of predators. They were never the same. They all did different things and they were all creepy, disgusting in different ways. Um, I saw the boys die a lot, and that is something that haunts me still to this day. that's why I need the meds at night, because I hear the boys screaming still, and I scream and cry about that still to this day. Um, for some reason, the boys affected me really, really badly, and I didn't understand back then why, but as I got older, I started to understand why the boys screamed and stuff, because as a child, you don't understand, you know, contact, like intimate contact. You don't understand any of that. So I didn't know what was happening to the boys to make them scream until years later. And then I realized, and then it made it even worse for me. So the night terrors that I have to this day are about the boys screaming and the babies. I don't get me wrong, I do feel for the girls. I was one of them. You know, it hurt us too. Um, for some reason, the boys screaming affected me for the rest of my life. And still to this day, I wake up screaming about the boys. I do cry about certain girls that I got friendly with, and then they were gone, and you sort of only got each other. Okay, so you're usually in a room of 10, 12, something like that. I'm just guessing. It was around 10 kids in each little rooms that they had. So you can imagine we formed friendships. We got close to each other, and then we'd go to different rooms and we'd start asking about certain people, like we gave each other names. And there was this one girl called Barbara, and I called her Barbara because I couldn't say her name. And they were so bad to her, and because she wasn't very pretty, like,
It's okay, Yanni. Take your time.
okay. So Barbara was little girl. So I was with her for about a year because I remember the beast, and that's what I call the woman that they adopted me to. Um, she always reminded me when it was my birthday. She would say, "It's your birthday today, no one cares," and she'd just taunt me, make me. But that gave me sort of a sense of time, if you understand. Like every time she'd say it's your birthday, I'd realize another year has gone. So that I kind of was smart enough as a child to kind of get that as a timer. Basically, when she would say that, I'd think, okay, another year has gone. So I try to figure out how old I was in my own mind. So I'm going to talk about this little girl. So she was born in the house with one of the breeders, and I didn't meet her till she was about 2.5, but I think she had something wrong with her. I'm not sure because I'm not a doctor, but she wasn't a pretty girl, like how they would dress us up when we were going out. I didn't see, I jump over things and then I think about it later. So when we were going out, they would bath us and dress us up and put ribbons in our hair and make us look really little girl, like really baby doll little girl. Okay, Barbara had, that's what but we couldn't say it, so we said Barbara. So Barbara wasn't a pretty little girl. She had something wrong with her, and she didn't look picture perfect like they wanted. So they were really cruel to her, and and
It's okay, Yanni. We're here. Liv said
she's
we are here for you now. We love you. Hugs, girl.
I love you too. So this little girl was somebody that I became really attached to because I always had to nurse her back. She was always hurt so bad, and I got really attached to her. And then she was gone, and I didn't see her anymore. And certain things affect you more than others. Like it's just she affected me because she nearly died so many times, and I helped her, and she didn't die, and she'd come back, and I would think, God, she's back. But then she was just gone for good eventually, and I didn't see her, so I presume she didn't make it. And I don't even want to imagine what they did to her because she was always so badly hurt. And I'm just hoping God said enough and took her. I just, I don't know. But there's certain parts that are harder than other parts, and that's one of them. Um, I was one of the girls that they put the ribbons on, and I was the pretty little girl. Not not all the girls were born that lucky. They weren't, and if they weren't, they were treated worse than anything. They were treated so bad, and we got to see that a lot. I mean, you'd have to imagine 10 of us in a room, so two come back badly injured, okay? So we're trying to help them while they're bleeding everywhere, and we're trying to help them as kids, and not understanding anything, and just the nurturing spirit just comes through you. It's a natural instinct to try to help people that are hurt, that are beside you. It's a natural instinct, but you don't realize that as a kid. So as a kid, you're just trying to help the other kid. You don't realize that that's something that comes in women. We're nurturers, and it comes natural. So I became one of the biggest nurturers in any of those rooms I was in. I always named them, gave them names, because I wanted them to feel like they're human and they're not just a number. I wanted them to know love before anything happened to them, so they at least knew something about love before passing over.
Yeah.
That's something that came natural with me around the age of 6. I started to become very nurturing with all the other kids. And, I saw some bad injuries. I screamed to get the people to come and take kids out that was just not, I just, I guess that they didn't make it because you get to know, and you do get to know who's missing, and that they probably are gone. So that's hardcore on a child's psyche, figuring out that you don't see this person anymore and they're probably dead, and you actually know that at 6 and 7 years old, you know that people are dying. um we kept going to these different temples, satanic temples. I kept seeing babies getting hurt and then doing weird stuff. And they take certain organs of the baby and put them in these weird jars and stuff. I remember a lot of things that I didn't always remember, but I remembered because they put me into hypnotherapy for years and years and years. And they say that that opens up your subconscious. So maybe some of the stuff that I'd pushed away came out in those tapes. And when I heard them, I started to remember those incidents as I was listening to myself um, describe certain things, because what they do in hypnotherapy, they hypnotize you and then they record while they regress you in age. So I'm 14, 15 when that started. And so they started to regress me back to, so I'd remember certain things, the way houses looked, things that could help the police find these people. And it did work because I'm skipping ahead of things. This is why I should write it down and get ready, but I don't, because
It's
I
okay,
feel
honey.
like I feel like it's more honest if you just go with it, and what comes out comes out. If I sit down and rehearse it, we're going to be here for 5 hours. So that's, you know what I mean. If you sit down and you write it down and you go through it and you do it in a strategic way, it's not going to come out honest. It's better for me to mention the things that hurt and go with it,
You're
So
going just fine, Yanni. Don't worry.
I did start to write it down, and then I just think, you know what? There's no need for me to write it down because I know what happened. So anyway, so yeah, that was at 13. She would take her eyes off me for a moment, and I would run. I got away about 3 or 4 times, and they kept bringing me back. On the fourth time, my dad was in jail for something really bad. I mean, he's never coming out of jail, my adoptive dad. Um, I was able to write a letter to him and send it and tell him that I had run away and that I'm hiding from them and all of that stuff. And he sent the police looking for me. So when the police were looking for me, they seen me because I went to the red light district in Australia. It's called King's Cross. I'm in Sydney, and the red light district is called King's Cross, and that's where I went. I don't know why I went there, but I guess I felt more comfortable around criminals and stuff. That's because that's all I'd ever known. So I ran to a district where everybody's a criminal there. And I hid there, and the bikers helped me. And, I had people, homeless people that I sat with, and I would prefer to sleep outside and be homeless than to be with them. And I'm sure you understand that. Um, I got this letter to my dad, my adoptive dad, who knew nothing about any of this. So I'm trying to tell him what's going on. And he's gone and told the people in the prison, somebody needs to find my daughter. She's like 13, 14 years old in the street of King's Cross. So he sent it somehow. I don't know how any of that happened, but the police came looking for me. So I'm thinking they're looking for me to take me back. So every time the police come near me, I run and take off. And they're actually trying to get me, to question me, to try to get answers to what happened to me because my dad had sent them. But I see the police running, and I run and hide because the first thought in my head is they're trying to take me back there, and I'm not going back. So that's what I'm thinking. But by then the police knew what I had told my dad, and I'd only told him a little bit. But being who he is, he's a criminal himself. He worked it out, and he said to the police, "My ex-wife is into this weird stuff," he said, and he sent the police looking for me. Eventually, they caught me, and I'm trying to fight them because I didn't want to go with them. And they're trying to tell me, "We're here to help you, we're here to help you." But I didn't like police because a lot of the parties where the kids would go to these elite houses, the big mansions, and being abused, there were police there. So the police were just as corrupt as the people. So I had no trust in the police at all. I thought they're the enemy, so I didn't trust any of them. Eventually, they put me in a safe house, and I had to stay there through the whole trial, which went for 3 years. So the trial, I've got 8 boxes of transcripts in my house right now that I used to obsess over. I used to read all the time, and that's when I found out about the tapes. Okay, so I didn't find out that they were recording the SA. I didn't understand any of that till the court case started and the police started to tell me about the videotapes. So there were videotapes found of me being abused and other kids being abused. And in the transcripts, it kind of I got
Do you
to
need,
see. I got to see.
do you need to
Oh,
take a break, Bonnie?
yeah, just for a minute.
Okay, take
Because
take a take
it's
a five
coming
minute
in.
break.
It's coming in my mind like a movie. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's what I can. It's like a movie playing in my mind of all of this. So I'm seeing it so vividly. So it's kind of bad. Um. So Jesus. So oh God, get it out.
If you need to take a break, Bonnie, we can take a 5 or 10 minute
I
break,
just
whatever
need
you
to
need.
take a drink. I need a drink because my throat's really sore. So just give me 1 second.
Okay. Everybody put some prayers in the chat for Yanni, guys. This is very hard on her. I think she needs to be surrounded by some love right now.
I need to describe this next part because it's important. So there was 113 tapes where they could see me. Okay, they found boxes and boxes. The first house they busted was the one that I helped the police find. Okay, so when the police found that one house, they found other things that led them to the next 7 houses. So me remembering that one house bought 7 more houses down. So in those houses, there was probably 50 children in each house. I'm just guessing, maybe less, maybe more. I don't know. Um, so when they did the raids on all of those 8 houses, they found videotapes, and these dirty scum assholes were selling videotapes of us being abused. From what they told me, they found 113, and I was on that 113 times they found me in those tapes. I got to see, I seen a few of them, because they wanted me to sort of remember people that were doing it to me, and they wanted to try to, round them up, but it never happened. So the people that were abusing us never ever went to jail. None of them. They didn't get caught. The elites were protected. They got away with it. The people that went to jail were the handlers, the people that drove us here, there, and everywhere, and they deserved it. They deserve it because they were just as abusive, and they didn't have to be. They would just abuse us to be. They didn't SA us, but they would slap us around and kick us and just do horrible things. So they deserve everything they got. But the sad thing about it is the actual perpetrators of the crime never went to jail. They never got in trouble. They never got busted. The only people were the people running the houses. They're the only ones that went to jail. And I think the highest jail sentence was 20 years. So they're out and about now, walking around, probably doing it again. I don't know. So the videotapes, they sat me in this room and they had like 10 TVs and they had the videos playing, like, bits and pieces of me. So I'm sitting in this room, I'm 14 years old, and I'm looking at all these monitors playing me being, SA'd. I'm trying to tell them that guy had the hammer, like the judge's hammer hung on the wall, because I remembered things like curtains and the rug, and that house had that stairs and that house had that on the wall, and I was pretty good at remembering little bits and pieces, but that didn't help because none of the elites got in any trouble. Um, so the videotapes were shown in the courtroom, and they had me in a room out the back, and I was only on video in the courtroom because I was that age, and they didn't want me near the abusers because they felt like that would be too hard for me, which it would have been. Um, so I was sort of protected through the whole trial for 3 years by a police officer that's like family to me. He's really old now, and I'm probably going to lose him soon, but he stayed with me my whole life. So um, after the trial, I just said, I need to make something normal of my life. Like, I had to go and have surgery because I had internal injuries really, really bad, and that took 3, 4, 5 surgery. I think it was four surgeries to get my female organs back in the right place, and they told me that I'd never have children, and I actually had 4, so that was not true.